Hello again everyone and welcome back to my allotment. I'm down on the plot about a week after first tunnels came and built this 14 by 25 foot polytunnel, which I'm super impressed with. The guys did a brilliant job constructing this and it took less than a day. If you've not watched that video, then you might want to go and check it out after watching this video. I'll leave a little link thing up here later on if you want to go and check that out. I've already made a start getting stuff done in here, which I'm going to show you in a moment. I've wasted no time getting stuck in because, I know I've got all winter, but there's a heck of a lot which I need to do in there. So here we are. Isn't she a beauty? Absolutely fantastic. It's covered in leaves though. There's a lot of leaves falling off these trees. That's just one of them things. I'll just have to clear them off. There's a few things which I want to do to the polytunnel first. First thing I want to do is sort this ground out here because it's very wet and we've got these little things that these things drop down into to keep the door shut. The problem is the ground's very muddy, so what I want to do is I want to dig the mud out and then probably concrete this area here and concrete these things here as well, because I feel like these will move around a bit, especially when I'm coming in and out of the polytunnel, standing on them. So I want to concrete here, plus we've got this batten here which is in the door frame. I want to concrete that in as well. It's just very muddy. That's my biggest concern. And with it getting muddy, it can stop this door from opening and closing. Yeah, that's not a problem with the polytunnel, of course. That's just the ground. It's just super muddy. So that's the first thing I want to do. The second thing which I want to do is sort out all this mud here. As you can probably see, it's very wet. I think the main reason for that, I think there's two reasons. There's a lot of plastic still buried under here, and there's actually clay under here, which I've recently discovered. I'll show you inside there in a moment. That is a new discovery. I didn't realise there was actually clay underneath here. I'm not talking clay soil, I'm talking pure clay. So yeah, we need to sort this out. Do a nice path around here. As you can see, I've already buried the plastic there to keep it nice and tidy. So yeah, I need to sort this area out. I think another thing is there's a lot of water coming off here. So if I put some sort of guttering down here and direct the water into an IBC or direct it away from the plot somewhere, there's not going to be all this water down here. It's all collecting. It's all running off the polytunnel and collecting here at the moment. So, and then there is this side of the polytunnel, which was actually a flagged path. Now you're probably thinking I'm crazy for removing it because now it's just really muddy and wet. But the flags weren't that great, to be honest. They were quite old. That's not the main reason. I did have a bit of OCD with it, to be honest, because it wasn't straight. It was quite wonky, and if I were to leave it here, the guys would have had the polytunnel built in a wonky position because the flags were not straight. So I removed those, and I want to make wood chip paths as well. I'm not really a fan of flags for some reason. I much prefer wood chip. Yes, it needs to be topped up every year. It does break down after a year. But I think, you know, it looks great. I like that natural look that wood chips give, and it turns into good compost afterwards as well, which I have used to fill a lot of the raised beds up. So yes, flags are permanent and they're very low maintenance, but I'm going to do wood chips here. Inside the polytunnel, well, I've wasted no time getting stuck in, that's for sure. I've already started digging out the soil. I've dug it about a foot deep. I just dug until I didn't see any more plastic, because there has been a ridiculous amount of plastic which I've found in here. You know, all this plastic membrane, zip ties, glass, all sorts of stuff. But the biggest discovery which I made was actually a crisp packet from 1999 from the release of Star Wars Episode 1. Yeah, that was quite shocking. That was found buried under here as well, under the soil. I've just put some wood here just to show you what I'm going to be doing. These beds on either side are going to be 2 foot wide. I'm going to have them away from the side of the polytunnel slightly. I've already started doing a little hugel culture thing here with wood chip and a bit of manure, because when I sieve all this, there's going to be a lot less material going back in, because all the rubbish that comes out, so there's probably only going to be half as much material going back into here, and then the other half is just going to be all the rubbish. So yeah, hugel culture. I'm probably going to have to buy a little bit of topsoil in, a bit of compost just to top them off, because they are going to be raised 6 inches like that. Obviously I'll have wood on that side as well, so it's going to be a 2 foot wide bed. A path here as well. The middle of the polytunnel is going to be a 4 foot wide bed. Now obviously I can't do that yet because all this soil is here, but when I've sieved all this back in using my trommel which I made, I hope the trommel is up to the job, because there's a heck of a lot of soil to sieve. But yeah, once I've sieved it back in, I'm then going to dig the 4 foot wide bed out. I'm not going to have it running the full length, probably only about 4 or 5 meters, because I want a bit of space here to do stuff. But I'll have to do that gradually, because I don't want to dig the soil out and stick it on here where I've made some nice beds. So I'm going to have to do a bit of playing around there, I think. Yeah, the discovery which I made was lots of clay. Now I'm not talking heavy clay soil, I'm talking pure clay, and that is why all this water is here. So I may have to just dig a bit more clay out of there, but I've discovered this. Now that is pure clay, look at that. You know, you can't really get any more heavy clay soil than that, than actual pure clay. I mean, we are quite close to a river. It's my understanding that the allotment site actually used to be a riverbed at one point. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, or millions of years ago, it used to be a riverbed, hence all this clay here. So what I'm going to have to do is, I'm going to have to get some more clay out. I'm definitely not putting that back in. There is a bit of clay mixed in here, but I think once it's sieved back in and mixed through, it should be okay, because you need a bit of clay in your soil. You know, it does do the soil good, but in small amounts. You know, you don't want it to be completely clay. So yeah, that's what I've done there. It's just this area though that has it. The other parts seem to be okay. Now there's something else which I've discovered when digging in here, mainly in this bit and this bit. So clearly it's just this area here. It looks like rust or something. It was quite deep. I'll try and show you. It was around where the clay layer was. You can see it's like orange. There was a lot of this when I was digging. It sort of looks like metal rust or something like that. I'm not too sure, but there was quite a lot. You can see more of this. Yeah, there's more of it there. Quite a bit of it there. There we go. It's a good bit. What is that? Is that some sort of mineral? Is it clay? Is it rust? Or I don't know. What is it? Is it? I mean, rust is iron oxide, isn't it? It's oxidizing iron. I don't really know that much about it, but it's my assumption that there's iron under there, maybe naturally occurring, and it's rusted. I'm not entirely sure, but I'd love to know what it is. Is it dangerous? You know, should I be worried about that? Or is it okay? Not too sure, but I'd love to know your thoughts on that. If I were to hazard a guess, there's probably about 2 or 3 tons of soil here. Easily. There's a lot. So I am saving a bit of money by doing this. I just hope that I just hope that I can get most of the plastic out. Most of it is big bits. I'm a little bit concerned about microplastics, but I don't think it's a massive risk because, you know, most of the pieces are big, you know, like this. Lots and lots of wrappers and stuff like that, zip ties and things like that. So I think it'll be really nice. I gave the trommel a bit of a trial a few weeks ago, and the soil after it's sieved is brilliant stuff. Also, with them being raised 6 inches, I think we should be fine. You know, lots of organic matter added into there, 6 inches raised off the ground. I think we'll have no problems at all. Another thing which I found quite interesting is you can actually see where the organic matter is. You can see this is where the clay is, which was here originally before the allotment became an allotment, and then the previous person that had this plot over the past 20, 30, 40 years or whatever, they've added organic matter on top, and you can see that with the dark layer. So there's plenty of organic matter mixed through this, you know, horse manure, I'm assuming, mostly. So, yeah. Look at all the bangweed I've pulled out, look at that. That is just insane. We're going to have a lot of this coming up next year. I'm just going to have to pull it out when I see it. I'm a bit concerned that when I sieve it, a lot of these bits of bangweed are going to be broken up into smaller pieces. We're probably just going to have to deal with that. Another plan which I've got is putting these strawberry hanging baskets in here. I'm probably going to put quite a few in here actually, because I've got loads of strawberries saved from runners. I've got like 30 or 40 plants. So I'm probably going to stick like 10, 15, 20 hanging baskets in here. I don't know yet, but these are perfect for hanging these baskets on. Looks a little bit weird in here at the moment in the smaller polytunnel. I cleared the peppers just last week, and this is all the wood which I'm using to build the 3 beds over on the outside of the plot, which I'll show you in a bit, and also some wood for the beds in the polytunnel as well. Wickes had a sale on, so I managed to get this quite a bit cheaper, at only £6 a length, 1 by 6 inch treated timber, 3 metre long, £6. That's cheaper than a lot of places actually, to be honest. It's pretty decent. Not too bad. You know, some of the wood has got these bits in it, but most of it is pretty good quality. So, I mean, for what we're doing, it's absolutely fine. We've got these battens as well for doing the corners and stuff. We've got our spring onions in. We'll overwinter these and harvest them next spring. Yeah, here's all our strawberry runners which we saved, and we've got plenty of strawberry plants there to fill them hanging baskets up. Look at all the leaves. It's always like this at this time of year because of all these trees here. That's the thing which I dislike the most about them. It's just really messy. It clears up a bit towards January, and by the time we get to spring they've all broken down into the soil, but yeah, it's really messy at this time of year. Here's what I'm doing with the 3 new beds here. It's just going to be the exact same as these 3 beds here, just literally copy and paste Stick 3 more here. I've actually put some of the gravel from under them flags on the new plot. I've put it around here so that when I build the beds on them, they're going to be sat on the gravel so that the wood isn't going to be sitting in the mud. I'm hoping that helps with drainage and stuff around here. I mean, we've not really had a problem with these beds because, you know, there is membrane underneath them, but they are sitting on the mud a little bit. I feel like this is the way to go, I think. Everything's looking pretty tired at the moment. I've removed some of these allium bulbs from the flower bed. I'm going to plant these in containers, I think. The bulbs do spread and multiply. We've got plenty of them there, which I need to plant somewhere soon. And the garlic's starting to come up quite quickly, actually. So that's good. Looks like all of them are starting to grow now. I'm really looking forward to growing these. There's some really nice varieties here. I'm a little bit concerned about the sprouts because they've not really done as well as I'd like them to. You know, they were growing so well through this summer and I thought we'd have a really good harvest, but we had lots of whitefly on them. All the leaves are starting to drop off. And the sprouts themselves aren't looking that great. I've definitely had bigger sprouts before now, and I think we will get a crop, although only small. I think we'll only get small sprouts, but I suppose it's better than nothing. But I think there might actually be a little bit of clubroot in here, because there is in the other 2 beds. There's been some clubroot in these beds. And in fact, the brassicas in these beds don't look that great either, actually. The Savoy cabbage, pretty small. I don't know. I always have problems trying to overwinter things. The leeks are looking really good though. They look brilliant. I need to de-weed in here though. It's been so mild recently. All the weeds are still growing. Look at all those. They really are coming up now. Look at them weeds. Yeah. I think next week I'm going to get in here. Kale's looking all right, I think. Red Russian, got some black Tuscany kale as well. It's not looking too bad, I suppose. Bit of purple sprouting broccoli isn't looking great. In fact, yeah, I can tell you why. It's clubroot. So yeah, I don't know. We're definitely not growing brassicas in here next year. Probably onions or something like that. More leeks over here doing really well. These are looking brilliant actually. But I'm saving these. I'm just going to harvest them in the winter when I need them. I'm not breaking into these yet. The carrots, we're just going to slowly harvest them as we need them. There's been a lot of splitting, a lot of slug damage, but we're still harvesting them slowly. Cauliflower, wow, look at those. They're actually doing okay, aren't they? They're doing all right. Cauliflower. Whether or not we'll get a harvest in the spring, I do not know, but we can only try, can't we? We can only try. I need to actually dig these beans into the soil here. These were a very late planting. I planted these in August, I think. July or August. It was quite late, and we had a good crop from these. We did pick quite a few beans actually, but I'm going to dig them into the soil, and they will add nitrogen back into the soil again. Look at all the weeds. They're everywhere. I've really let the weeds get out of hand. So we just seem to be waiting for the first frost now. Almost the middle of November and we've still not had our first frost. It is supposed to turn colder over the next week or so though, which we need really, because you know the weeds are still growing. Parsnips taste better after a bit of frost, and the sprouts need a bit of frost as well. So, you know, I will sort of be glad when the frost and stuff does come. I'm just getting as much done now as I can whilst it's still mild. Everything just looks a bit wet and a bit tired at the moment. as it always does in November. By the time we get to February, March, it's all going to be clean and ready to go again. I've also scooped all the leaves off this rhubarb bed and removed any of the old decaying leaves from the rhubarb because I don't want them to start rotting, so that's fine. I'm anticipating a good crop next year because these plants were so good this year in just their first year. I grew a few red cabbages in this bed here, and honestly, I think I've wasted my time with them, to be honest. I might pick them and try and store them for Christmas, but they've gone a bit soggy now. I don't know. I'm not too sure what I'm going to grow in this bed next year. Definitely not brassicas though. Probably something else, maybe leeks or something like that. I'm actually going to just quickly dig these beans into the ground now before I go, because it's getting pretty dark now. So, last little job on the plot before I go home. So my logic here is I dig these into the soil and they're going to add some nitrogen back into the soil for next year. I'm not too sure what I'm going to grow in them. Probably brassicas, I think, maybe, because this bed has grown onions and then these beans. So yeah, for the purposes of crop rotation, I'm probably going to do brassicas, I think, maybe. So a good sized bed. Cabbages, maybe, broccoli, something like that. They'll benefit from the added nitrogen. The frost is going to come along and kill these off anyway in the next week or two. I'm just giving them a head start now, digging them into the soil roughly. There's actually some pods with beans in them here, so we're probably going to end up with beans germinating next year. I'd rather be picking bean seedlings out than lots of weeds. There we go, a little bit of a green manure there. So yeah, I've just quickly dug them in. They'll break down into the soil over winter and we'll just come back in the spring and give it a quick rake. Do you know what, for a no-dig raised bed allotment, I'm doing quite a bit of digging, to be honest. I've just dug that into the soil, which is a fair workout. But then I'm also digging the soil out in the polytunnel as well to sieve it back in again. Yes, they're going to be, pretty much no dig when they're up and running, but that initial digging is very hard work. Yeah, I've actually just picked my last courgette of the season. Look at that. I did have a courgette plant in here and there was one more courgette on there, so I will savour this. I'm not going to eat it all at once. No, I'm going to stick that in something, pasta, curry, not too sure yet, but the last courgette of the 2025 season.